Sustainable living in Norwich. Eco-friendly property trends. So, let's talk about Norwich. That quirky, green, sometimes too quiet gem tucked away in East Anglia. People often underestimate this city, but I'll tell you something. When it comes to sustainable living, Norwich is punching way above its weight. I've had buyers recently who aren't just asking about broadband speeds anymore. Nope. They're asking, is the insulation natural? Where's the nearest refill station? Does this property have solar panels? Honestly, 5 years ago you'd hear that once in a blue moon. Now, it's basically standard. Let me paint you a little picture. I had a young couple, first-time buyers, full of energy, vegan, into yoga and composting. You know the type. They'd been renting in the Golden Triangle, but were desperate to get onto the ladder. We found them a lovely semi in Eaton. Nothing fancy on the surface, but the seller had invested in air source heating, rainwater harvesting, and get this, homemade hempcrete insulation panels. No kidding. They were over the moon, especially because the EPC rating was a solid B, which, if you know your local stock, is like finding a unicorn. The demand for eco-friendly homes in Norwich has genuinely shifted. Here's the kicker though. There's a bit of a supply issue. Many of the Victorian terraces that make up a huge chunk of the market are frankly thermal nightmares. High ceilings, single glazing, drafty floorboards. You know the drill. But homeowners are adapting. I've seen more and more clients investing in retrofits. Solid wall insulation, secondary glazing, cheaper and less invasive than full replacements. Even solar shingles. Yup, actual roofing tiles that double as solar panels. Very Norwich. And then there's the newer developments. You've probably heard of Rain Park in Bowthorpe. Designed around Passivhaus standards, low carbon footprint, airtight builds. These places are flying off the market. One buyer told me, I'd rather compromise on a second bedroom than on thermal efficiency. Times are changing, eh? Let's not forget the letting side. Landlords are feeling the squeeze with the tightening MEES, Minimum Energy Efficiency Standards regs. I had one landlord practically begging me for affordable ways to bump his D-rated flat up to a C. The solution? Drat-proofing, LED lighting, and a smart thermostat. Sometimes it's not about going full Tesla Powerwall. It's about smart, practical steps. Here's a wild thought. Eco isn't just a trend. It's becoming the value. I recently valued a 3-bed detached in Cringleford. Nice layout, average decor. But the owner had invested in a sedum roof and solar thermal panels. I priced it higher than the last 2 comps. It sold in 5 days. I even get tenants asking, is the flat near a zero-waste shop? Not, is it close to Tesco? A few years ago, that would have sounded like a parody. Now it's just reality. And let me throw in a little life hack for agents. Highlight green features in your listings. Don't just say double glazing. Say energy-saving A-rated UPVC windows, installed 2023. Mention the insulation depth, the EPC rating, the type of boiler, even the proximity to cycle pads or EV charging points. These are no longer niche interests. They're decision makers. Funny story. During a recent open house, one viewer went out back, lifted the wadding butt, and said, "Ah, great, harvesting rainwater." I was half expecting him to hug the garden compost bin too. He didn't, but he did ask for a photo. So if you're in Norwich or thinking about moving here, here's the bottom line. Eco is in. It's not just a lifestyle, it's a selling point. And it's changing how we value homes. Who knew sustainability could be this exciting?